I'm here obviously on behalf of the leader of the council. We have a newly formed joint administration which is led by the Labour group, but it's a joint administration, so I'm independent. Just to give you an example of where my fundamental view on this is, I think that the housing policy in the United Kingdom has been probably one of the biggest political failures of all parties in the last 3 or 4 decades. I think it's absolutely outrageous that we're giving Southend alone, it's giving about £130 million a year to private sector landlords in this town, and yet the government is saying, oh, we don't want to build. Well, that is changing. The new administration is very supportive of social housing. We are using the right to buy receipts. We're currently in the process of acquiring 30 homes in the open market. We're looking, although it's highly contentious, we are looking to develop sites that we actually own, which is quite challenging. One you will have heard about recently has been made into a political football, which is Lundy Square over in Eastwood, where, and quite outrageously, the local Conservative councillors have used local people's emotions to try and turn people against the idea of providing this housing. We all know that the poor housing lies behind so many ills and problems in society. I'm community safety, that's my aspect to this. I was at a Westminster briefing only last week where one of the key things that county line drugs criminality do, they pick up people with chaotic lives, and those people come very often, they don't have a home, they've got bad situations they're living in, and the gangs try and befriend them. It's a real problem. They deliberately, it's quite sinister, they deliberately target kids who are either in council run homes or kids that are out of school. So all this links together. It's all to do with austerity, cuts that have been made upon us by the various governments, and so the council position is that we support this campaign. We are talking to Homes England because the land is still owned by the taxpayers' purse. We want to get social housing on there. We are also working on the Queensway project, which again is challenging, but there's problems around the way the design has been brought forward with the highways network and so on, but we will get there. So personally, as an independent, I will tell you I fully support your campaign, and I am in favour of that land being utilised for social housing, because one of the misnomers that the statisticians use, they'll say, oh, the average wage in Southend is X, but they combine that figure amongst the many considerable amount of people that work in the city, so it gives a false image of people on low incomes in the town. So they'll say the average wage is X, and therefore affordable housing is affordable, and it isn't, because one thing we all need to understand is the way the planners talk about things. They'll talk about affordable housing. Affordable housing is 80% of market rents, which is not social housing, which is considerably lower. So an average 2-bed council flat is something around about £100 a week mark. The average 2-bed private sector flat is about £200 a week on average. So if you work those figures up, so we're, through the taxpayer's purse, we are funding private sector landlords. We are pushing forward with the landlord's licensing scheme, because as well as wanting to get more social housing and affordable housing, but particularly social, we want to improve the conditions in that marketplace, which is really fundamentally serious. Thank you. Okay, so the first question from the lady there was about would we give an undertaking commitment. I've given you my personal commitment. Now, we are a democracy. In the current council administration, it's Labour-led with 3 independents and 3 Labour councillors and 1 Lib Dem. I'm quite forceful about what I do on the cabinet, and we've discussed this in the round. I did mention earlier that the leader of the council, there are discussions taking place between Homes England and Southend Council. We want to deliver more social housing. We've shown a commitment. When we were in control last time, and at that time it was Labour independent-led, we built the first council houses in this town that have been built in about 3 decades. We are absolutely committed to it. We've just delivered 40 units down on, well, I'm a bit brain dead today, the road down towards the airport. we've actually delivered those. We've delivered a number. That was all started by us. We're going to deliver as many as we can in Lundy Square. So we are now to this. We know that we need to do it. We've got a track record of delivering on this. My view, and many other people's view, is that we should do this. And a lot of the stuff we're having to work with, Southend fundamentally is a Tory town, and we've got the first Labour leader of the council ever, and that was helped to be facilitated by us. So we're dealing with a lot of policies. To answer the gentleman's question about the plan, changing the development plan is quite a cumbersome and problematic way of doing things because it takes a lot of time. So there has to be a political will, I think. It's got to be about the policy and the view of the council. And I'm trying to reassure you as much as I can about what our view is. There is a challenge where on the funding of the scheme, because the government has just decided to increase the interest rates that are offered by the Public Works Loans Board, which does create a cash situation for the council. But I believe that land is public land. It should come back to us, and we should build social housing. We've got a massive need, and it's a core conviction of mine. I said it earlier that one of the biggest the biggest political crisis of our times. We've been totally let down by governments of all persuasions over the last two. We had years of Labour government, and they did nothing about changing the current situation. And Ashley's absolutely correct. People living chaotic lifestyles is absolutely no good for our society. It's no good for our communities at all. It really angers me personally that we are giving, just in Southend, imagine the national, Ashley's probably got the national figure, I think it's something like £34 billion a year we are giving away in housing benefits. It's an absolute crime that we're doing this.
Would you take that forward as well, that Colin's suggestion that maybe a group of councillors could go up to Norwich and have a look at their developments and see how they funded it, because we're very much if they can do it elsewhere.
I hadn't got to that, but
I know, I'm just trying to move
I had
forward.
5 questions, but yes, I think it's a great idea. I don't think we need to keep on reinventing the wheel. If someone's done something positive elsewhere, yes. And I'm not surprised Mr. Gunther isn't here, because we all know what his political persuasion is. So there you go. That's all I'm saying on that one.
Thank you, Martin.